I know we have Matt on the phone. I don't believe Russ is on, but if he is, I'd ask him to let his presence be known.
Okay, and if anybody wants to join us, so if he joins a little bit later, just let us know. But
Yep, will do.
Matt, can you hear okay?
Unmute, Matt.
Oh, yeah, we're signing in for those that are in the
Okay.
chat. Well, Matt, are you on the line? We're not hearing you.
Present.
He's calling in.
Yeah. All right, well, while you're trying, I know
I
they
see
both
his
went.
phone number on, so we'll count him as present for
All right, well,
now.
we'll get
We have
going.
four
and
members
then hopefully
present.
they'll get on. Ryan, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes, Your Honor.
Okay, and we'll make sure we have another letter from MediaCom raising issues with items 4H, 4L1, 4S, 6E 1 through 3, and 6F 1 through 3. So Ryan will show MediaCom.
And Matt, are you on to vote? Looks like he's trying to speak, but the audio's not coming through. So we'll count that as a 3 yes vote.
Okay. Item 2 is Citizens Forum, which is the time for anyone in the audience would like to address the City Council on any items that's not part of Public Hearing 6 or New Business 7. But I will say that if anyone's here and wants to share their thoughts on the contract with the Conlin Group, that is under item 5A, Old Business, and I will reopen the public hearing. So if you want to make comments on that issue, we'd appreciate it if you waited until we got to agenda item 5A. So with that, anyone want to address us on Citizens Forum? Okay. We'll move on to Mayor, Council, City Manager, and other entity updates. I guess we'll start with the City Council. Kevin?
I would like to yield my time to Meredith Wells. She'd like to, I believe, introduce the new Executive Director of the Historic Valley Junction Foundation.
Okay, Meredith?
Thank you, Councilman Trimble. My name is Meredith Wells, and I'm the president of Historic Valley Junction's Board of Directors. We at this time would like to formally introduce our new executive director, Steve Freevert. He is joining us from Burlington, Iowa, where he served as the executive director of their Main Street program for 12 years. There he oversaw many historic preservation projects, business developments. I could go on and on and on, but we are just absolutely thrilled to have him in Valley Junction at this time with all the momentum that's occurring and investment that's occurring. We see this as a perfect fit at a perfect time. So I will step aside and let him introduce himself as well and tell you a little bit about him.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Just very briefly, looking forward to meeting more of you and working with all of you. I'm very pleased to be here, honored to be part of this wonderful organization and to work with a really fantastic group of people who are very committed to seeing Valley Junction continue to thrive. And I will add that I'm also a resident of the district, so I take a special interest in what happens there. So again, thank you for your warm welcome.
Well, you're coming in at an historic time
Absolutely.
for
I understand.
redevelopment.
Yes.
Not always agree to everything, but we have a lot of activities, so.
I'm looking forward to
yeah.
it.
Don't know if you have history in historic preservation.
He
but
does.
If you do, we'll.
Quite a bit,
We'll
yeah.
enjoy your expertise.
Good, I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Meredith.
Thanks, Meredith.
All right, so can we hear Matt yet?
He said he's on the call.
Yeah, he's signed in now directly in Teams. Matt, can you speak up?
All right, Greg? I'll come back to him.
Oh, sure.
City council reports.
Sure. Not a lot to report tonight. Just it's always important to celebrate the little victories. And in the city of West Des Moines, the census numbers came out this past week, and we are still the second largest city in the metropolitan area. I know it's not a competition with Ankeny,
We're winning.
But no, it was really exciting that we are still population-wise the first suburb in the area. Also really exciting that Dallas County is, which West Des Moines makes up a good portion of, the fourth fastest growing county in the United States. The three that are ahead of us, two in North Dakota because of the oil boom. I can't remember the other one, the third one that's ahead of us, but just that just means a lot of excitement going on the western side of the Des Moines metropolitan area, and West Des Moines is a huge part of that. So it's important to celebrate those victories because they are important, because as we get more residents, we have the more opportunity to provide just excellent quality of life and amenities. So just wanted to report that as well.
Great, thank you. Renee?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to share with you that Councilman McKinney and I had an opportunity to participate in Battle of the Burbs. And those of you who may not know about that, it is a friendly competition of the suburbs that bring home the trophy. The trophy's in his car while he is out of town. We will show the hardware next time we get together. But West Des Moines did show up and show out and did a great job. We raised the most money and had the most participants. So very proud to have represented the city of West Des Moines and Battle of the Burbs and to bring home the trophy. But yet to raise money for our foundation that gives it out to local nonprofits. That's really what it's all about. So excited about that opportunity. Had a very good, robust meeting with the Human Rights Commission, who is really poised and dedicated to the work that we're doing to create a welcoming city and to support events and that lend itself to that. So I just can't be more pleased and excited with the Human Rights Commission. I have a library trustee meeting tomorrow. I do see Mary Brooks, who is our chair of the library, and I know there's a proclamation, it's in the consent agenda, but I need to speak life to this proclamation that really gives a lot of thought and recognition for the West Des Moines Foundation, Friends of the Library, who really do help us reach out and do the kinds of things that we want to do in this community. Our library would not be as strong, and I'm sure she would attest to that, without the Friends of the Library and the work that they do. So I just want to publicly thank Mary for all the work that she does on behalf of the library and the foundation for supporting all the things that go on there. It is an asset in this community, and our kids and all kids use that library. And so I want to thank you, Mary, and the foundation for the enormous amount of work that's done, and I see many of you are here tonight. So this proclamation goes to you and the work that you do, and it's an honor to serve on your committee.
And I'll be happy to read that when we get to the consent agenda, and they came a little bit early so we could get a picture. So great, okay. Is that it, Renee?
Yes, it is. Your
Okay,
Honor. Thank you.
Tom?
No report, Your Honor.
All right, back to Matt one last time.
Still showing it's on?
So is it on our end, Ryan?
I don't have a way to tell. I mean, it looks like he's online.
He said he's on Teams and on his mobile phone. So
It must be our technology, you can't get through for some reason.
I'm not sure if it's ours or his.
Well, do we have a plan B? I mean, if he calls, I mean, can't he just call a number and he ends up on that speakerphone? The same thing with Russ when he tries to get in. Yeah.
Don't know if that's a good option.
I mean, this is not the first time we've done this. We haven't had this problem.
and he's sending a note to someone, just call him, put him on the speakerphone.
We don't, if he can call the number on the agenda, I can,
Okay. Item 4 is the consent agenda. I will, as I mentioned, I will read item 4V. We will need, I know because of MediaCom's letter, pull 4H, 4L1, 4, and 4S, because Matt will need to abstain on those items. But are there any other items that any council member wants to pull other than those?
4I3 and 4I9.
Okay. You want to move the balance of them, Kevin?
I'll move the remainder.
Second.
All right, please vote.
three yes.
Okay, 4L3 is a resolution to approve the professional services agreement for Fair Meadows Creek stabilization south of Railroad Avenue. Kevin?
Yeah, thank you for the correction. I said L, or I, and it is L.
Oh, yeah.
I did say
Okay.
I. Yeah, Brian Hemisath, you're back there, correct? Can you come up here for a minute? I know we talked about this during the Public Services Subcommittee meeting, but looking through this, I just want to make sure exactly what it is that we're repairing. Is it all on city property, or is it on Railroad and Western Village's property? Because it appears that it's on those properties.
Brian Hemisath, city engineer. After the Public Services Committee meeting, I went back with Jason and checked on this, and it's all within city property. And it's, we're still working through exactly how it's gonna get done. It's not gonna be a very easy thing to do just because of the confines of it, but we were working with some folks to try to gain access to that back there, but it's probably gonna be some concrete lining just to keep those gabion baskets in place. So that's where we're at on that one.
All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I will move that one.
Okay, so Kevin's moved 4L3.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Looks like Matt's on there, but he's muted, so
Okay.
3 yes.
All right. 4L9 is approval of professional services agreement for Stagecoach Drive, South Jordan Creek Parkway to South 78th Street. Kevin?
I am going to abstain from this because Foth Infrastructure and Environment is my employer.
Okay. So,
Move.
Second.
all right, well, I need one of the, either Matt or Russ to be able to vote now.
Russ or Matt, I'm told you can hear us. Can you
There's
give-
Matt.
I see you, Matt. I see you there.
Just put it in the chat, Matt.
But nope, still can't hear you, Matt.
If you can nod yes.
There.
Get off your phone and then it wouldn't have.
We got you on both, Matt.
Okay. So, can he get off his phone and use his Teams?
Yeah, that's what,
Okay.
Yep.
Matt, can you just use your Teams for us? So we voted, Kevin needed to pull 4L9, which is the professional services agreement for Stagecoach Drive, South Jordan Creek Parkway, and South 78th Street, because his employer is the engineering company that will get that contract. So are you supportive of passing that contract?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I was on both Teams and my phone and it wouldn't work, so.
No, I
Yes,
think-
I'm comfortable with that,
Okay,
Mayor.
so Renee and Greg.
anybody-
And Russ, are you
Russ.
okay with this one? I hear you too.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason I wasn't able to get through either, but I'm here now.
Okay, and so we just voted on the professional services agreement that's for
we haven't completed the vote of
No.
those in the room, so.
4L9. So Russ, we need you to vote on that. Kevin pulled it because his current
Yes.
employer is the contractor.
Yep, I heard that, yes. I'm
All right.
yes.
So we have Renee is a no vote. You already closed the vote? Okay.
I think it's
All
four.
right, you're yes, right? Okay. 4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
All right, so now I'm going to read the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation Proclamation of Recognition. Whereas the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation was first formed in 1991 and has served tirelessly as an advocate for the West Des Moines Public Library and the citizens of West Des Moines. Whereas the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation supports the West Des Moines Public Library each year by purchasing materials, funding programs and initiatives, sponsoring events, and fundraising within the community. Whereas the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation makes significant additional contributions with enduring impact for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Whereas in fiscal year 2021, the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation funded the purchase of the Valley Junction 24-hour library kiosk at a cost of over $100,000. The kiosk was installed in the fall of 2020 and provides a library presence in the Valley Junction area for the first time since 1975. Whereas in fiscal year 2021, the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation gifted the city with over $360,000 in funding toward the creation of the West Des Moines Public Library Teen Center during the renovation of the building, which was completed in the spring of 2021. Whereas the mayor and city council of West Des Moines wish to express our appreciation to the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation for their exemplary leadership as public servants and their continued effort to improve the quality of life for those served by the West Des Moines Public Library. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that on the 16th day of August 2021, the City Council, staff, and citizens of the City of West Des Moines hereby recognize and honor the West Des Moines Library Friends Foundation for their public service. So those with the foundation, if you'd raise your hands so you all can be identified. Thanks again for all your efforts. All right, item 5, old business. Item 5A is contract with the Conley Group, Inc. for City Hall Building Security Services, city initiated. We've had public comment at the last 2 city council meetings during Citizens Forum. This item, be happy to reopen the public hearing to have our residents share their thoughts on this. I guess with a couple of suggestions. If you wouldn't mind trying to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and if you'd try to avoid repeating what other people have, that would be helpful. But I think to try to manage this, I'm going to take the 2 groups. First, the people that, and you'll see that the resolution is to terminate this agreement on the 30-day notice. As I've mentioned before, this contract naturally ends at the end of the year, but there's a 30-day provision. It can't get into a lot of legal nuances because we have a letter from the Conley Group's attorney indicating that they're going to bring legal action against us if we pursue this 30-day out. So I can't get into a lot of the legal nuances of it, but the resolution that's before this city council is to terminate that security services agreement on our 30-day notice. So residents that are here that are in favor of the council voting to do that, I'd like to take you all first, and we'll need you to come up to the council dais and share your name and address. So Al, you want to lead off? Okay. And then I'll ask if there's anybody here who believes that we ought to let this contract run to the end of the year, and we're happy to take their comments as well.
Hi, my name is Al Womble. I live at 818 Ashmore Circle here in West Des Moines. And it seems like, we're facing a moment of truth. All of us have the opportunity within our lives to face a very important moment of truth. I know I faced one when I first became a father. I know that many of us have faced one in this room. And although they are scary, and although they can be intimidating, and we can think about the consequences, that moment of truth defines who we are. I want to take just a second to tell you about a moment of truth that one young man faced. This young man came from Georgia. He was a man who looked around at his society, and he saw inequities, he saw social injustice, he saw racial injustice. This young man decided that he was going to stand up against that. And although he knew the consequences for his actions might be severe, he decided on April 12th, 1963, to continue to lead a march in Birmingham, Alabama, and stand up for racial equity and social justice. The actions of that young man helped create and help give strength to the passing of the 1965 Voter Rights Act. That young man who faced that fear and trepidation, that young man who faced that moment of truth was Martin Luther King. He was jailed for his actions. He faced fear before he took his actions, knowing that he could face jail, knowing that he could face violence, knowing that he could face scorn, but he stood up to that moment of truth. And I submit to you, respectable mayor, West Des Moines City Council, this is our moment of truth. This is our moment to stand up and say that we are going to stand up for racial equity and social justice, and we are going to stand against those whose comments and behavior, unfortunately, are not just the comments and behavior of any individual, but as I have spoken before this council before, when you are the leader, your behavior, your attitude can filter down to the rest of that particular workforce and determine their behavior and their attitude as they do their job. And I would like to say that I've seen West Des Moines come a long way. As I've said before, we still got a lot of work to do, but we've done a lot of good work here. This is our moment of truth. Let us not fail in our moment of truth here in West Des Moines, but let us stand firm and say that we are going to do what is right, no matter the consequences, no matter what befalls us, just as that young man did on April 12th, 1963. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. All right. Others here who support the council terminating this agreement on 30 days' notice? Welcome, Rochelle.
Hi, I stand before the council. My name is Rochelle Long, 106 11th Street.
And we apologize about your mom.
First of all, let me say to all the council and city that gave condolences to our family in the passing of my mom. We just buried what we call the queen of the junction, Barbara Jean Long. We buried her on Saturday. So thank you to all of you that reached out and gave your condolences, and I got your flowers, and Renee made some remarkable words at the services. So,
And we're working on a proclamation, Rochelle, so when we get that done, we want to do it at one of the September council meetings. We have any of your family members that want to come back, and
We'll
we'll
be
do the
here.
proclamation for your mom
yeah.
and give it to you.
And I'm really not a civic person. I am a community person, but I'm standing here for my mother and my father, because if they were able, if they were here, they would definitely be here tonight, and they would be standing in support of the city canceling this contract as soon as you can. It does not need to be extended. There's so much that I could say, but I just want to quote what Mr. Conley said. He said, if somebody doesn't want to do business with us because of my opinion, then don't. And I would suggest that we don't. And we need to set a precedent for Mr. Conley and anyone else that wants to do business, especially do business where we're spending our taxpayer dollars. If this is how you feel and this is how you think, not only you, Mr. Conley, but any and everyone else that feels that way, we should not support that, because at every step of the way, as it's identified, we have to dismantle all injustices so that all of us can have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And we cannot afford any longer to support people that think this way. And let us not forget that the reason why people are standing and they risk their whole entire lives and welfare, they came out in the pandemic because another human being laid their knees on another human being for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And not only the city, not this country, but the whole entire world said that's enough. So I want the city, I stand in support of the city to say that we don't want to support anyone that feels and thinks like that.
All right. Yep. All right. Anyone else that wants to speak in support of the resolution to terminate this agreement on these 30 days' notice? Okay, if you, yep, come on, go ahead, come on up and share your name and your address.
Jacqueline Thompson, 2100 Center Street, West Des Moines. And I really want to thank the City Council for your bravery in putting forth a resolution to terminate this contract within the 30-day notice. You didn't have to do that. And I believe it shows that you're principled leaders, and I am proud to be a citizen of West Des Moines when I hear things like this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Julie Stouch, 4712 Westwood Drive, West Des Moines. I have a question. The contract, just to verify, I think I heard you say this, Mayor, the contract does have a 30-day out without cause, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, anyone else? Okay, and a number of folks have spoken at the last two citizens forums. Is there anyone here tonight that is opposed to the council terminating this agreement on 30 days' notice that wants to share with the council? Okay. So I'll close the public hearing, Ryan, and we have a resolution to send notice to the Conley Group of terminating their services agreement with the city on 30 days' notice. Someone want to move it? I need a motion in a second. Is there a
Second.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. Please vote, and Matt, we'll need, for you guys, you and Russ to verbally vote.
Do you have a motion, Mayor?
Yeah, there's a motion and a second to send notice to the Conley Group that we're terminating this agreement on 30 days' notice. Okay. So we've got, so Matt, I need to hear from you, and then I need to hear from Russ verbally so Ryan can record your vote.
Aye.
Okay. Russ?
Aye.
All right.
5 yes.
All right. So this contract's going to be terminated. Dick will send the notice tomorrow? Okay. Five B, amendment to City Code Title 9 zoning, Chapter 2 zoning rules and definitions. Add a definition of drive-in theater seasonal, city initiated. This is an ordinance for the second, third reading, final adoption, and there are no changes. And those of you who were here for that, you're not going to offend us if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. You're welcome, but thank you for coming.
You don't have to rush out.
Drive-in movies, that's the next, come on.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
yeah. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Appreciate it. Yep. Okay, so Ryan, did we get a motion in a second?
Not yet.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, Title 9 zoning, Chapter 2 zoning rules and definitions pertaining to zoning definitions.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Renee voted no. You mean, that was, okay, we'll count it. 5 yes.
Move waiving the third and adopting final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
Item 5C, amendment number 5 to Alluvion Urban Renewal Area, city initiated. This is an ordinance for the second, third reading, final adoption. There are no changes from the first reading.
Move for consideration, second reading.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I missed that. Do you have a motion?
Yes,
Okay.
for 5C, Matt.
Second.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Move to approve the second reading.
Second.
Did you get the vote on the first?
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
I was about to say.
Sorry.
5 yes, an ordinance providing the general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the Alluvion Urban Renewal Area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the Alluvion Urban Renewal Area.
Move for approval of second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
I'm going to turn off the camera here. I think it's interfering with the audio. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, it might be taking
We know
up
what you
some-
look like.
Take up some bandwidth.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt. Move.
Pretty stressed right now.
That beard's getting grayer by the minute.
Apparently he's in a bad Wi-Fi territory. Anyway, move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, item 6 are public hearings. Item 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Pavilion Park west of 9075 and 9076 Linda's Lane. Amend comprehensive plan land use map and amend the Pavilion Park plan unit development to designate parcel E within the PUD for single-family development initiated by Pavilion Park LC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
July 30th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, 1 was absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment and PUD amendment.
And the council communication indicates there's no outstanding issues, but it is a public hearing item, so if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the city council on item 6A, now would be the time. Right. Seeing and knowing and not hearing anyone, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have to take these items separately, so the first item is a resolution to approve the comprehensive plan amendment, and I know this came through Development and Planning City Council Committee with a unanimous recommendation.
Move approval.
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
This is this is really exciting. This is a lot of new residents. You know, I mentioned earlier that West Des Moines is growing a whole lot, and this is an opportunity to get a lot more residents in a really, really good spot too. So this is exciting.
Yeah, and actually, they're downzoning it from medium density to single family. All right, please vote.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinance number 2407.
Brian, that
Oh,
was
sorry.
their comp plan.
I'm ahead. My mistake.
Do we have regular coffee, or is this still decaf? Yeah, we got everybody's wound up.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Did we vote on the resolution?
Yeah, that was 5 yes.
Okay, all right. Any questions or comments on the ordinance? I have to check what you guys made to drink up here. All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinance number 2407 pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move approval first reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, item 6B, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Jordan Creek Business Park, north side of Village View Drive between South 60th Street and South 64th Street, amend comprehensive plan land use map, and amend the Jordan Creek Business Park specific plan ordinance to designate and regulate high-density residential within the development parcel C, and initiated by Todd Reuter. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
July 30th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, 1 was absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment and specific plan amendment. Also, there were 2 correspondences received that were included with the council communication, and then also another communication with the petition that was included in out on the dais here with the memo.
Yeah, and maybe before I open the public hearing, because I know some of the residents have raised concerns about this, we thought it might be helpful to all of us and the public to get a little bit more of a background on all this from Lynn, and then we'll open up the public hearing for any of the residents that want to share their support or concerns with the city council. So Lynn, thanks.
So Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services. Not sure if I get to do the Zoom part.
There you go.
So when a petition is filed,
Is there a microphone over there, Lynn?
There's not. You want Matt's?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Matt and Russ will be able to hear you.
I mean, they're,
Thank you, Lynn.
so when a petition is filed, Iowa code would say that if 20% of the properties that are within the subject property to be changed sign that petition, then it requires a supermajority or 3/4 of the voting members to approve it. So we took a look at this development. There's actually 2 pieces of this, but we're going to end up treating this buffer as one. If it was only a comprehensive plan amendment, the only areas that would count are actually the subject areas of this proposed apartment complex. However, because it is also a planned unit development, we are going to take that 200-foot buffer from the boundaries of that PUD. So it includes the area that's subject to the change, but it also includes other ground that was part of that PUD. So this red line is the 200-foot mark from the boundaries of that PUD. It appears there's roughly about 36 parcels in that buffer area. 3 of those are within the single family of the village of Ponderosa. Approximately 14 of them are up here in the Kings Valley subdivision, the single family. And then the Bella South multifamily complex is also in that. The balance of the properties that are within that 200 foot are either commercial properties or they're association held. So when we got this petition, we did our best because there's no addresses, no printed names here to try to decipher who lived where on this petition. What we were able to figure out is the 3 property owners that are in Village of Ponderosa that are within the 200 feet did sign this petition or this letter. What we have no way of knowing is whether or not the proper authority for the association signed or if the proper individuals for the 2 commercial properties signed. So after discussing with legal, what we determined was it did not meet the test of the 20%. It would have taken 7 property owners within that boundary to have signed this letter for us to kick it to a supermajority. So this is just a regular vote for this action to change the comprehensive plan and the PUD amendment.
And you had some objections, right, at planning and zoning, but no one actually came and spoke against it?
Right.
Not that they had to, but I know if the rezoning gets voted down at P&Z, it also requires a 4/5 vote here.
Correct. We did receive 2 communications prior to, 2 emails prior to the P&Z meeting. Brian Ports, who is the case planner, called both of them, talked to both of them. One of them is also a person that signed this petition. The other one, he explained what the issues or what their concerns was. Primarily, it was a 4-story building that they had concerns about. He explained how the setbacks were measured. Explained they were in the Kings Landing or Kings Valley subdivision. Explained that this natural area is to remain. Neither one of those residents spoke at P&Z.
Okay. And just to make sure everyone understands, the what's before the council is to change the zoning from office zoning to multifamily.
To change the comprehensive plan land use, so the very far, see if I can get this one, might have it. It's hard to kind of see. This far west parcel is actually regional commercial land use. The balance of them over here to back to the east over to 60th Street are all office land use. So the comprehensive plan request is to change from office and regional commercial to high density. And then the amendment to the Jordan Creek Business Park, PUD, is then to allow the multifamily or the high density land use on these properties north of Village View Drive.
Okay, so what you have up there is the proposed apartment buildings themselves with the distance to the next property line?
Correct.
Okay.
Lynn, can you give me an example of a regional commercial versus different kinds of commercial? What would that mean exactly? So, I mean, I know it's changing from that. That's the proposed change. But can you give me an example of regional commercial?
Regional commercial is really what we have around Jordan Creek Town Center. It's everything from basically I-35 over to about Jordan Creek Parkway. It is all of that commercial. It's meant to be a draw from a larger area.
Mm-hmm.
So you tend to have more of your box stores, your big box stores in it, your malls type be in it, a lot more fast food, a lot more restaurants type businesses. Okay. A community commercial is kind of the next step down for us. We consider the area along University Avenue between about 88th and 98th to be kind of that community commercial. It's kind of a larger pocket within, surrounded by residential. It's kind of meant to provide some of those services for those residents so they don't have to drive all the way down to Mill Civic Parkway. And then your next kind of lowest level is a neighborhood commercial. That's what you would have at 60th and Ashworth, right up here at EP True and 50th. That would be your next level where it's smaller stores. It's really kind of that quick stop things for the neighborhood is all that's in those.
Thank you. So this was regional commercial, most of the lot. So that's a Home Depot and a McDonald's?
It could have been, although the lot wouldn't have provided it, but that's what could have been on this western piece, yes. Regional
Okay, I
commercial.
see what you're saying. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Lynn, is there anything online or information given from your office that if somebody is going to petition the city council, such as these residents, that says what they have to do, such as, printed name, sign name, address, such as that?
Nope, in fact, even state code is not very clear about it. It doesn't say that you have to provide it in this form. It is just a signed petition provided to the city clerk. So it really doesn't say that you have to have a printed name or you have to have an address. It's just the best way that we have to actually pinpoint who signed those petitions.
If we have that policy, does that make us in violation of anything?
No,
I would recommend
it's-
that we take that approach, Tom.
Yes.
Because that way, because I'm guessing that these residents, and again, we don't know if they're all within the area or not, because it's just a signature, but I think to make sure that we don't ever run into this again, that's the policy that we take immediately, that says it's a printed name, signed name, and then your address where you live, so that we know in this case that, yes, they're all in the area, or no, they didn't meet the
Right.
requirements.
right. When I started checking them, and like I said, I was kind of trying to interpret the signature to what I was finding on the assessors. Most of them seem to be in the cul-de-sac that is just to the east of where the three are here. Most of them seem to be in that. I didn't get as far enough. I couldn't pinpoint everybody on
Right.
there. But that's about all we could gather from what we had. in
I agree with
front of us.
Kevin. I think an FAQ, oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
Do you feel that there is enough due diligence for the signatures that were there, that you've ruled out the threshold number that you're needed to
To me, it would be on the individual that submitted this letter to tell us
Yep.
that neither the association signed or either of the commercial businesses signed. That's really the only question at hand, because there's not enough Village of Ponderosa residential properties within the 200-foot to be able to trip the supermajority vote.
So if we wait on this for 2 weeks and get that information, and I think it needs to be in writing that, Kevin Trevelyan signed my name and then 324 34th, rather than saying that, oh yeah, he signed. So I think we need, if we can, and it's not going to hold anything up, I'd recommend we hold this off for 2 weeks, give them time to get those printed names, addresses, and then bring it back in 2 weeks, and then we have all the information we need.
Are you allowing them to add signatures to this petition in the 2 weeks?
I wouldn't
or
think
just
so.
What's on this?
I wouldn't
thing?
think so. I would think it would have to be compared to what's here.
Okay.
I am in support of really making sure that we have all the information we need to ascertain whether those signatures will trigger the type of vote that must happen. But adding more names, I think we've gone above and beyond the amount of time in terms of notice. Is that right? We've met city notice and state notice. We've done that.
Yes, and
Okay,
actually,
so-
city notice is actually more, we
So
go
the-
farther than we do with the state.
So the question in motion then would be, is taking those names that we have no certainty of whether they're in the boundaries or not, and giving them an opportunity to share their address. Is that
Yes,
what
and
we're
I-
saying?
And what I'm saying is that the next form that comes in would be printed name, signed name that matches these signatures, then the address. If there's additional names on there, it doesn't count.
But that doesn't preclude those additional names from reaching out to all of us and sharing thoughts via email or phone calls.
Well, but the other thing is I'm gonna, we can do that, but I'm still gonna have the public hearing for any residents that are here that want to speak, because they may not be able to come back in 2
And that's
weeks.
fine, yeah.
So we can hear anybody that wants to comment tonight, and if this gets continued for 2 weeks and we have additional people that want to speak, then we'll take it. But I want to make sure that we hear from the residents who are here tonight that want to speak tonight if this does get continued.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, did you have some more background on this, Lynn, and then we'll?
Yeah, just in light of kind of what was suggested here, that the changes to the comp plan really shouldn't happen. We did take a look at some of the areas that changed recently. Village of Ponderosa itself, as you know, was originally an open space designation that was changed to allow for single, multifamily, commercial office development. That was done in 2006. Since then, 2015 roughly, it was changed again to take away some of that commercial, make it all multifamily. And then just this past year, again, we changed it to allow their heights to increase. So Village Ponderosa itself, from its original, we won't count the golf course, from the first adoption of that planned unit development ordinance, it was roughly 400 50 dwelling units that they could have in this. That has now climbed up to about 1,200 dwelling units due to the changes that we've done. As you know, this area north of Target, that's been sitting vacant between Target and Signature Apartments, that was recently changed from office designation to medium density to allow 184 attached townhomes.
And these are all requests from the property owners. The city didn't initiate any of
Right,
these.
these are all requests from the
Right.
developers of trying to figure out what to do with their properties, struggling to make them be office over the years and
Right.
switching over to some other land use that now is more popular.
Well, and north of Target, at one point, the council approved a movie theater in there. And then when Jordan Creek came with their movie theaters, that developer backed out. But at one point, there was an approved movie theater back there.
We've had several inquiries for that property alone, from everything from office to different types of residential to childcare, indoor storage, different types of uses that just have not been able to make that site work.
Right.
I did a quick check just of our EnerGov permitting system. Roughly over the last 5 or 6 years, we've done 90 comprehensive plan amendments. I didn't dive into the details of exactly what each one was. I know that about 10% of those at least were from an office to a residential classification.
Yeah.
As we've all said, we have way too much office on our comp plan today. We know it's not going to stay that way.
Especially in light of COVID.
Yes,
It's created
that's
even more
changing
issues.
things. In fact, that's what
Right.
partly
But
what's driving this one is.
Yeah, but again, I mean, our world has changed in 12 years, 8, 9, and 10, the worst economic time since the Great Depression. Then we've had the pandemic, so the world's changed twice in 12 years. And the comp plan is a living document. Most of the time, it's down zoning. I mean, I see here the traffic is generated is going to be less.
Correct.
And that's usually one of the biggest residents' concerns is more of the traffic. So actually, the traffic would go down if this got approved, and the wetlands stay, correct?
Correct. Actually, it's a designated wetland for the majority of it, so they will not be able to touch it. Any of the grading that might get into that is at the south end or the developer's side of that wetland. So all the trees and everything that's in there, generally in that area, will stay as they are.
Anything else on the background?
I don't think so. The developer is here if there are specific questions about the development itself. This is just the comprehensive plan and zoning for us. The preliminary plat, site plan, well, not a preliminary plat, a site plan was just submitted last Friday, but he would be able to answer any
Okay.
questions.
Well, and maybe I'll wait and ask the developer if they want to come up and address the council after we hear what residents want to speak tonight. But I want the residents to know if, in fact, this gets continued for 2 weeks, we'll keep the public hearing open for those people that want to wait and speak then. But if there's anyone here tonight, any of the residents that either are opposed or supportive of this, we'd welcome you up to the podium. You'll need to share your name and your address. Same admonishments, if you can keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, that'd be great. And if you cannot repeat what other people have said, that's helpful as well.
Hi.
Okay, welcome.
I'm Charlotte Bruce, and I am one of those people that she was pointing to in Ponderosa Village that actually received one of the official notices. And I did submit a letter to Planning and Zoning objecting to you changing this. So I basically got the notice and really thought, this will never happen. Ponderosa Village is just doing a gazillion housing units. This has always been planned to be commercial. So all of us, and the signatures are pretty much our neighborhood, but there were only 3 of us that actually received the official notice that this was going to happen and that this was going to impact us.
Yeah, but based
So-
on state law, you only notice people
That's-
within a certain
you
distance.
all
So we
have
weren't ignoring
done-
anybody. I think we over-noticed people, but that's the reason.
You all are perfect.
Yeah.
You've done absolutely everything by the book. Check, check, check.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, thank you for your service. We really do appreciate it. We know what the time and the effort it takes to go in. The main thing is that when we as homeowners make big investments, and basically, I think that there were 9 families who signed this, and we have an assessed value. How many?
12 of the 19.
12 of the 19, and we have an assessed value of how much?
Those signed 9.8 million.
9.8 million. So we have a pretty sizable investment in the neighborhood. And when we purchased our homes, when we made that investment, we understood that this is what was going to happen, that this was commercial. And you know, when you do that, that really is why you make an investment. And you all are here for the long run, you know, for the 50 years or whatever it's going to take to have this community be successful. So, you know, you guys have made a lot of changes, and we really want you to think about this. It will impact us, and we made the investment based on you all. And this comprehensive plan really was a document of trust. And many of us, the neighbors really did not know that this was going to happen. I did because I received one of the letters. So I would just ask that you wait, that you really consider what you're doing for the long term, and let's don't just try to flip land and let profits happen on the short term. Let's think about things for the long term. That's our request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Being here.
Other residents that want to speak tonight?
Good evening. Scott Stoltenberg, 6122 Kings Way, Kings Valley.
Hello, can you hear me?
Well,
You good?
we have someone at the podium. I'm going to have the people that are physically
I think
present
that was
here.
Matt trying to,
Oh, all right, is that Matt?
I think it was,
or was that someone else?
might have been somebody else, but
Yeah, we're going to have the folks that are here in person speak first, and then I'll ask if there's anybody on the phone that wants to address the council. So just hang tight if you're on the phone. Go ahead, Scott.
Sure. So I'm just going to echo the comments that were made. You know, we built in 2005. We're one of the houses directly north of that development, or the land that's being rezoned or talked about being rezoned. We moved in, we've always had that understanding it could be a 1 to 2 story office building. Perfectly fine with that. When we moved in, none of those trees were there. You know, those trees have naturally grown up, which is great for this time of year when you can't see through it, but you know, they'll be thinned out soon enough, and it will be directly in our backyard. And so that is a concern for us. It's a big difference to go from 1 to 2 story office that's primarily occupied during the weekday, during the day, to high density 3 and 4 story rental units. So significant change. We just want to make sure our voice is heard.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other residents for tonight? And again, if this gets continued, we'll still have a public hearing.
Mhm.
Okay, are there anyone on the phone that wants to address the council on this item tonight? We'll need you to, is it star 6? To unmute yourself and share your name and your address. So we thought we heard someone that wanted to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. So my name is Alex Coonan, and I live at 6350 Coachlight Drive. That would be the Bella South condominiums that is in the zoning map that you had there. My only concern is that I, and I'm sure others in our complex, were not aware that we could petition with like a sheet where you supply the name, signature, address to reach a majority to veto, or have some supermajority to veto the development. So I would just ask that you consider that residents in the area that did not know that that was a possibility have the ability to add their name to the petition.
And I guess, I don't know, Dick, legally,
I'd-
is it, yeah, I mean, is it, I don't know legally what the cutoff date is.
But it's usually before the state law says before the hearing, you should have the petition in hand. So
Okay.
that would technically, if you applied that, it would be
Would have been tonight.
today or before. That's what the
Yeah.
state code
Right.
says.
Okay, well, and I guess we can wait and see what the ultimate vote is, because if the vote is 4 or 5, then that issue's not an issue. If it's 3-2, it is an issue.
The 3-2 is the only time that supermajority would come into play if it was a 3-2 vote.
Right.
4-1 and 5-0.
Right, if there's sufficient signatures that were more than 20% of the land involved,
Mhm.
then it requires a 4/5 vote. So if 4 or 5 vote for it, it's not an issue. If it's a 3-2 vote, it could be an issue.
Well, but again, I mean, state code says today was the deadline, you know, and again, I wasn't even advocating when I first brought this up to delay it for 2 weeks. That was to add signatures. It was just to confirm what we've got here and where you all live. So I'm not comfortable in going out and adding more to make sure that they hit those numbers because, you know, half of them aren't in the boundaries. So
Alex, anything else you want to add?
No, I was just asking for that to be considered because in the notice that was received, it didn't say anything about whether we could petition, and we had a deadline for that. There was a deadline for public comment that I can see, but I didn't know that was the same thing as the signature thing.
And remind me, the Bella Meade product, can you buy those or are all those rentals?
So we're in the Jordan Creek condominiums, which on your sheet was described as Bella South. That was a previous name of the property.
Okay.
It's the 3 condo buildings to the north
of
the development that's in question.
Okay. All right, Lynn, before I ask for more.
Just a clarification, Ms. Bruce had mentioned that the 12 families were all in their neighborhood. I don't know if she would have the clarification if there is the association or commercial properties on this.
I
signed
still think
petition.
though that personally, I want written confirmation. I mean, I'm not saying I don't trust people. I think we need, and I'm going forward, and I guess I'm shocked that that wasn't our policy already, that, you know, basically prove where you live.
Yeah, and I guess I've been doing this 22 years, and this is the first time there's any confusion on exactly who they are and where they're located. So it's not like it's an issue that we talked about before that we should have changed. So this is really the first time where we're a bit confused on where the folks live. So if there's anybody that's here tonight that's on that list, if you want to give us your address while you're here, that'd make it a bit easier for us.
Right.
But let me see if there's anyone else on the phone that wants to address the council tonight on this issue.
And Alex, by all means, if state law precludes a new petition from being formed, as our city attorney has seemed to indicate, again, I want to just really, really emphasize that doesn't preclude you from emailing me or anyone else on the city council to share your thoughts, share your concerns, because we always want to hear those no matter what, whether your name's on a petition or not for a supermajority potential. We always want to hear from you. So thank you for calling in, Alex.
Sure, yeah, thank you. And thank you for considering. I don't know all the legal nuances here, so just wanted to throw my thoughts out there for what it was worth.
No, we appreciate it, and we do what we can to accommodate that because we want to know. So anyone else on the phone want to address the council tonight? Okay,
Mayor, can you hear me?
I can.
Matt McKinney?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Hey, I sorry I had an issue earlier, but I wanted to add, this came before development and planning sometime mid-June, as I recall. And I know we spent time specifically addressing to the north side of this development, the fact that the developer would have to keep all of the, trees and natural kind of landscape there to help buffer, the sight, sound, light, or, whatever it may be. And just confirming, I think I heard that from Lynn, but,
right.
Can we confirm that?
Yeah, Lynn did say that was a natural wetland that can't be touched, and so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
I appreciate that, Matt, because that
anyone
was.
else on the phone. So, sir, did you want to address this?
Good evening. My name is Mark Lyle, 5870 Fairway Court. I have with me a list of all the signatures on the petition with their address, and also there's I believe there's either 19 or 20 properties. And I've got the assessed value of all those properties, both the signers and those that have not signed. Those that have not signed were basically people that are gone. It's almost a unanimous signature of signers for. So
Yeah, why don't you give that to
That'll be a
Lynn,
big
and
help.
I guess, Mark, the issue that we're trying to solve is does this require a 4/5 vote? So that's why we need to know who's within
Right.
the
Send you
legal
more information.
parameters. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with Lynn, that'd be helpful.
Right behind you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So the developer is here. Happy to hear from the developer tonight. And if this gets continued for 2 weeks, again, we'll be able to have additional comments in 2 weeks. But happy to hear what they'd like to share tonight.
Thank you. My name is Nick Jensen. I'm the owner of Caliber, Iowa. We're located at 720 South 68th Street here in West Des Moines. Lynn gave some overview. I have a fairly extensive overview that I think would be good to just go through with residents being here, and with no one at planning and zoning, the discussion really hasn't taken anywhere but just what was printed. And so the Reserve at Jordan Creek is the name of this development. It's a luxury residential project designed with our best available finishes and amenities. The site includes a total of 4 buildings that have 2 matching buildings on the east and west ends, then 2 matching buildings in the center of the site. There are 3 access drives that all utilize Village View Drive. Those drives are currently installed. The exterior of these buildings are all brick, flat roofs with expansive glass and an attractive design. We are including underground climate controlled parking as a feature amenity that not many other complexes have, and all 4 of our buildings will have elevators. I believe the residential uses for this site is a very suitable fit and falls in line with the most typical development transition you would have in city planning, where your lower density residential is then buffered by a higher density residential. And this transition would also complement the existing development along your northern border and your western border of Kings Valley. This land would be the only portion of land around that development that remains undeveloped. The Reserve at Jordan Creek will be unique to those other bordering developments with this preserve area we've talked about and the dense tree line, which gives substantial separation to that north property line. All of this will remain as it is today, as discussed. To give more specific comparison, that existing denser residential project on the west and north, they have garages that are built within 20 feet of those residential property lines. They have buildings that are built within 35 feet of those property lines. In my proposed project, the nearest point to a residential property line would be 260 feet. In other areas of West Des Moines, there are completed and also current projects that are being developed as higher density residential and amending the comprehensive plan to do so. Direct proximity to the east, we have Village of Ponderosa, which was a golf course, zoned open space. They amended the comp plan to establish the mix of commercial and residential uses. That project has faced hardship, continues to amend the comprehensive plan to establish more residential. So those comp plan amendments have allowed for commercial uses to go away and buildings be built as 100% residential. As recent as this year, every property owner within Village of Ponderosa was given notice of increased height for buildings that are now under construction to go to 63 feet tall, which is 5 stories. And to do that, the developer had to also minimize the setbacks to fit their building in the available lot. In doing all of this, as Lynn stated, the Village of Ponderosa is now approved to have 1,137 residents. These are homes, townhomes, and apartments. And the anticipated build-out would be a population of 2,500 people or more with what is approved. As you go to the east of the Ponderosa, as discussed, the target land would be in the comprehensive plan as the same type of office use, which was zoned to residential. That project is all 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom townhomes. They have a total of 15 acres, and there are 398 bedrooms that are proposed in that project. The Reserve at Jordan Creek, to give more detail as to its specifics, we have 90% 1-bedroom units, 14 acres total, 250 bedrooms. I would like to address the protest by the Village of Ponderosa. There, with no one being at planning and zoning, I just feel like there's important information they do not have, they have not considered, and the stance is just based on an initial reaction. Basically, as I see it, they are protesting what they've supported for their own development and then also the development to the east. I feel anyone, including those residents, would agree that's not a logical or a fair protest. I think if they chose to understand these details and find comfort in a local developer in this project, they would realize it's a positive contribution to the neighborhood. I would also speak to another recent example to the west of the mall where I own a project at EP True Parkway and 88th, which is the Century Run Townhomes. I built this project, which adjoined vacant land that was intended for neighborhood commercial. And recently, I received notice of a comp plan amendment from an out-of-state developer that wanted to build high-density residential and wanted to build low-income housing. Selfishly, I could have objected to this, knowing that land could continue to sit undeveloped, and I could use a stance that I expected and wanted that to be commercial use. But as a stakeholder in residential real estate in West Des Moines already, and the Des Moines Metro, I know that we have a sincere need for housing, and there are limited parcels that are available to develop. So I decided to support that project. I not only supported it, but signed easements and minor modification to my site plan to allow them to have access timely and move their project along as quickly as they could. That's known as the 88th Street Lofts. So in summary, Caliber Iowa we're locally owned and managed, offices here in West Des Moines and Ankeny. We've invested $50 million into West Des Moines real estate by adding this project and also the Grand Valley Townhomes, which will have site plan approval this evening. We intend to take that investment to a total of $100 million. And I want what is best for West Des Moines, recognize new development and the market needs on a firsthand basis, which is why I believe in this project and its approval.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
And I would also, just because we have this up, I guess I can't see. So as you can see, this is the Kings Landing single-family development. And you can see those properties I referenced where you have 15, 35-foot separation between those property lines. And as you get down to my project with that large buffer area, there's a minimum of a football field distance in between any of my structures and any adjoining houses. And then this would be on that east entrance, pulling into that east entrance, that current tree line and reserve area that will remain. Happy to take any other additional questions or concerns on this project.
Okay.
And
Let me
hopefully
see,
that
let me see
overview.
first, Nick, if anyone else wants to address the council on this tonight yet. Okay. So then, questions from anyone on the council on what you've heard so far?
Did you say 90% one bedroom? Is the other 10% two bedroom?
Yep. So 250 bedrooms total.
All right.
So unit count is what it is, but the specifics of this project and the market we're going for is individual users and couples. So
All right. Do you know how much the square footage for a single bedroom would be?
600 square foot average,
Uh-huh.
$1,200 rents, so $2 a foot rents.
And all the public infrastructure is currently in place for this, right?
Yeah, yep,
Except on the site.
correct. Yep,
Yes.
everything's to the
That would be
site. Yeah.
Yeah,
We had to do a sewer study to ensure there was capacity available.
right.
Can you put the tree line back, the picture back up in terms of the buffer? I just want to make sure. Okay, and how tall would those trees be and how tall will this building be? I'm just kind of curious.
So on the hard corners, we have, I think I have a drawing of those buildings. So I'll put this up. So your center buildings, those are 3 stories tall, which I believe that with the current zoning, there's flexibility to allow for multiple of uses, including hotels, including buildings this tall. And so as I understand it, that building height is already allowed. On these hard corners, we have a building that I've done in a project up in Ankeny, which is a unique, great looking building in my opinion. So all 1 bedrooms. I have no balconies on this building, so it encourages residents and tenants to use the adjoining commercial properties, any other patio that would be on restaurants in the area. And so this project recently completed, and it's a great fit for the development. The individuals living in it love the complex, and something unique too, to have a 48-unit building that has elevators. We're really attracting a demographic of all ages. Surprised me more than I expected that we're getting middle age and even older age tenant, just because of the short hallways and the elevator amenity. There's really a limited number of high-quality rental projects that offer a elevator access. A lot of garden story, 3-story with no elevator.
Other questions either for Nick or Lynn or any of the residents?
Lynn, really quick, one more question. In my head, I think I just got a little mixed up, and I just wanted to confirm. So we have these 4 parcels. If you want to bring that up really quick, do you? So you have the left center, right, and right center. Just remind me again, which one is currently regional commercial? Which is it 3 and 1? Is it 1 and 3 for office? Can you just remind me one more time?
Yeah, just the far western lot is the regional commercial.
We lost you. Hang on.
Okay. The one on the far left is currently regional commercial.
Correct.
Okay.
The other 3 are what we call professional commerce park, which is an office designation for us.
Okay.
I will correct one thing that Nick said, that right now you can do a 2-story hotel on the office or the PCP, but not a 3-story hotel. That's what we limited in the PUD itself. You could do a 3-story office building. You could do a taller office building, quite honestly, up to a 60-foot office building. And then for every additional 10 feet of setback, you can do another 12 feet of height. So the height really in this parcel is somewhat unlimited based on what you can fit between that wetlands and Village View Drive.
And Lynn, the traffic report that was done based on this new use says that there actually would be less traffic from these apartments than it would have been if it would have been constructed based on the original commercial zoning.
Correct.
And remind me again, how many additional housing units have gotten approved in Villages of Ponderosa? Is it 1,400?
I want to say it was roughly 450 that it maybe originally had in 2006 when we adopted that initial development. I believe now it's at 1137, 1140 roughly that can be allowed in there. As you know, 2 apartments are going under construction right now down at on the Market Street. Both of those have 54 units in them.
And how tall are those?
Those are 5-story.
5-story. And so they're at roughly 700 units. I don't remember any residents in Villages of Ponderosa raising concerns about those changes.
No, we did not. I checked the noticing. We notice when we do a PUD amendment, we notice everybody within the PUD itself and everybody within 370 feet of the boundary of that PUD. So I did check. All of these residences would have gotten a mailing. Now, it may have different owners at that time when some of these things went through, obviously, but the most recent 2015 changes, when we did the change over to multifamily as well as this 5-story, all of them would have received notice, and no, we did not hear anything from those.
Even if those are a little bit farther away, they would have received
Right,
notice?
If the changes within Village of Ponderosa, we would have noticed all property owners within Village of Ponderosa.
And that traffic study, is that a preliminary study?
It was we do it as part of the zone change and the comp plan amendment, and then we relook at it as the site plan comes through to confirm that the numbers are correct.
Okay.
Let me look through real quick in the staff report. I don't know if we have the new numbers.
When it comes to the preliminary versus after the site plan and whatnot, how do those numbers shift often? How often are they pretty in line?
They are pretty much, they rarely change between a zone change and the actual site plan.
Okay.
So I will point out these addresses that they did give us. All of them are on the Fairway Court, Fairway Drive, which is all that residential just to the east. So these 3 are the 3 that would have been the property owners within the 200-foot boundary. So everybody else is actually outside of that 200-foot that signed that letter.
So based on what we know now and the signatures we have, are we comfortable saying that the 20% threshold has not been met?
Correct.
All right.
Okay.
So we can take action on that again tonight then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, other questions from the council?
Can you all hear me?
Does that satisfy what you were thinking, Councilman Trevilian?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, hey, perfect. Thank you. I don't know what's going on here. Nick, did you mention, thank you for the presentation Did you mention there are not balconies on this particular project?
Yes, he did.
On those four-story
Okay.
corner buildings,
On the four-story corners.
just on some, the interior
Okay.
buildings.
The two middle buildings will have
We'll have
balconies.
balconies.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Lynn, did you mention, if this remains office, it can be really heights, you could have a building here taller than what is being proposed?
You're allowed 60 feet just in the PCP district, and then you're allowed 12 additional feet of height for every 10 additional feet of setback. So it really kind of depends on the shape of the building and how you fit things in here. So yes, they could have
Okay.
a 5 to story on up building.
Okay.
Well, and that is important for me to understand that. You're saying that if it stayed originally the way it was zoned, the height could even be much more problematic regardless of those trees and whatnot.
Correct.
That's really important to hear that, because if it stays that and it is developed commercial, that there's a possibility that the height that is a concern for some of you, is that, at least that's what I'm hearing the height is. Oh, you're saying the height is not the problem? It's the density?
But the density, I mean, that's a challenge for me because there's less traffic. When you think of density concerns, it's the traffic issue. But also, I mean, we're seeing a lot of people own office changing. If you look at that, just north of there, Doug Siedenberg and Mike Whalen came in a couple months ago and changed their office site just to the north of the hotel to retail, because they've been marketing that as an office building since the mall went in and couldn't get any activity. So we changed that comp plan to retail because it was unrealistic that they were going to get office, right?
Yes,
I remember that.
that is correct. And what we've basically have heard is this is too far off the beaten path for most of the office retail. It would have to be a very specific user that wants to put in corporate headquarters type office or something of that effect.
Yeah, it would have to be a
They're all
build to
struggling.
suit, because if you look at COVID, we have millions of square feet of office. I work for someone who owns it, where you have more vacancy now because more people are working from home. So you have existing facilities
Correct.
that have, you know.
Capacity.
Yeah. Not that, I mean, we're not doing this from a competitive standpoint. We're doing it because our world's changed.
Right.
And what's the current demand for that? And is it consistent? Usually you don't have issues with it's lower heights and less traffic. We usually don't have people raising concerns. Matt?
Lynn? Yeah, okay, so tonight we got before us here the resolution and the ordinance. Ordinance you got to come back and read anyway, a second and third reading. The resolution you could probably take separate. Is there any other approvals that are going to be required down the road, whether it's a site plan or anything? I guess what I'm getting at is, is there anything further the city can do to provide assurances to the residents relative to the buffering?
We will have a site plan approval. However, this is the overlay district, which really means that we send it to the commission and council. You have 1 week to make a comment or call it forward for full review. Otherwise, it just gets approved from that. We will certainly provide the site plans, the elevations, all those details to anyone who would like to see those plans as they go through the approval process.
See, to me, the height is certainly a consideration. Recognizing that another development could be taller is something I got to consider, and just less traffic, less activity under this would seem to me to be a good thing. I am nonetheless concerned about the buffering, and if there's something we can do to ensure that the existing trees remain, and if there's an opportunity to provide greater buffering, so be it.
Let me see if I have like I said, we just got the site plan in. I didn't bring it. This shows it a little bit better, but pretty much this whole area from this line back north, which pretty much marries up to this line right in here, that is all pretty much a designated wetland. You can maybe touch the very south edge of this a little bit with your grading, but you cannot get into this thing very far. So really, everything within here, there's no reason for the developer to be in there. It's designated a wetland. They don't want to be in there because that triggers a lot of other,
And that's where all the trees are at, right?
that's where all the trees are at.
Well, and the closest house at Fairway Court is over a football field away.
Yes. Almost all of these are 260 and 265 are closest points, which are.
Some in Kings Valley are 35 feet from multifamily to the west of them.
Yes, the Bella South, which is what this development used to be called, the garages are backed right up to those lot lines. The same thing, Bella Mead to the north of that, they are backed up. They have a 30-foot buffer basically is what they have, and then maybe a 25-foot, 30-foot setback. So they're within 100 feet of those single-family homes, which is more typical for what we see.
Right.
It is
Right.
unusual for us to have this much of a buffer naturally there that will be maintained.
Well, and it's a challenge for a developer to take a site this big and you can't use a lot of it to put something on there that you can actually make work. So that's nice to see that someone could actually build at the density levels that Nick's talking about building and still make the math work when over half the site you can't develop. That's the other challenge about this site with all those wetlands in there.
Which is another driver to the all one-bedroom units.
Right.
Sure. Nick, I'm looking at the one of the documents, a 25-page document, and you probably can't see it from there, but I'm looking at this parcel C right here. And do you think that you'll put any trees along the backside? Obviously, we don't have those plans yet, but is there any, or is that touching the wetland too much and so you can't touch it? I didn't know if you had any thoughts in mind when it came to that. There's that detention pond over here, there's the detention pond over here. And again, I don't know the possibility of that and how close you are to the wetland when it comes to the grading. It's not my area.
Again, this is just the preliminary that was just submitted. Right here would be a building, right here is a building. This is cut in two, so I'd have another page, but you can see right now, there's very little that's being added in here. Anything additional would be at Nick's mercy to add.
But right
Yeah, it's a
now,
good question.
yeah.
I don't think we could ever create any kind of a buffer that would match what's already naturally there. It's just so tall and dense, and we have a limited, we're letting the wetlands in this low-lying area remain as it is. We're not pushing into that area. And so in order to add more buffer, we'd have to go into that area to do so. And it's something that has the natural area.
This was an office building, would they have to add more buffering?
No,
Some of the other issues, you can build a higher office building with no more buffering than I think what's being proposed here is a lower building. So,
by code, our buffer is only 30 feet wide, and you're far exceeding it just by keeping your wetland areas, so no, they would
I
not
can't-
be required to add more.
think of a lot of places, if any, that have this much buffering in West Des Moines, because the land's too expensive.
Right.
Other questions? Otherwise, I think we're free to take action tonight since we've figured out the addresses.
Confirm the addresses.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing. So if the council wants to take action tonight or defer it for 2 weeks, it's up to you. But if you want to take actions, we have to do the resolution for the comprehensive plan amendment first. And I think, Matt, you said that this came through development and planning. You and Renee came through your committee for a recommendation as well.
That's correct, Mayor. Yep. So we'll do the resolution tonight. I'll move the resolution now, and then we would also have another meeting on the ordinance in 2 weeks. Is that right?
For the second and third reading, if there's no negative votes, if there is, then we'll have to do the second reading in 2 weeks and the third in 4 weeks.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I would move the resolution tonight, recognizing we also will be addressing this in 2 weeks.
So is there a second to approve the comprehensive plan amendment?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, tonight I am going to vote yes tonight, but since this is just the first reading tonight, I'd very much like to hear more over the coming weeks. So residents, by all means, reach out. I would love to hear more.
Okay. All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
And then the next item is the ordinance for the first reading.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Questions or comments on the ordinance? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Nay.
Russ, was that a nay?
Correct.
4 yes, 1 no. An ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinance number 1712, 2271 pertaining to plan unit development district regulations and guidelines.
Okay, Matt, you want to move approval of the first reading since you moved?
I'm sorry. Yep, move approval.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Nay. Nay.
Renee, we need your vote. 4 yes, 1 no.
Okay, so we'll have the second reading on the ordinance in 2 weeks, and then we'll have the third reading in 4 weeks. Item 6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Reed's Crossing Parcel G, southwest corner of EP True Parkway and 68th Street, amend the Town Center Overlay District boundary by removing Parcel G within the Reed's Crossing Plan Unit Development initiated by Jordan Creek Point LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
July 30th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, 1 was absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the amendment to the overlay district.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address City Council on item 6C. And we're simply removing this property from the Jordan Creek Overlay District to allow other more consistent development in the area. Okay. Hearing no one, we'll declare the public hearing closed. We have a resolution to approve the amendment to the Town Center Overlay District boundary.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
6D, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Boonville Road Bridge over Johnson Creek, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
August 6, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6D. All right, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and this also came through the Public Services City Council Committee with the unanimous recommendation.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Steel prices.
5 yes.
Man.
Item 6E, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Digital Enterprise Last Mile Conduit Deployment Segment 1, Phase 1, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
August 6, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
Just the one letter from MediaCom reference at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, now would be the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the City Council on item 6E. All right, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and this also came through the Public Services City Council Committee with a unanimous recommendation. Tom?
But technically, Mayor, I
Actually,
abstained on
yeah.
this item.
Yeah, Steve, Matt abstained at Public Services.
Oh,
on
did he?
this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, did someone want to move them?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
I'll abstain from this, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Item 6F, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Digital Enterprise Conduit Deployment 2021 multifamily and non-residential drop installation. Phase 2, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
August 6, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
Just the one letter from MediaCom.
Okay. Now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6F. Okay, seeing or hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, we have 2 resolutions and a motion which we can take together.
And again, just for the record, Matt abstained from this one as well. I'll move this
Okay.
Second.
All right, please vote.
at the Public Services he did.
Yeah.
Aye.
Thank you, Kevin, and I'll abstain here as well.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Item 7, new business. 7A, Covenant Cove Plat 2, south and west of Crestview Drive and 96th Street. Approval of a final plat to create 21 lots for townhome development and 1 outlot for common area. Covenant Cove LLC. Resolution to approve and release the final plat, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
7B, Grand Valley Townhomes north of Grand Avenue and east of South 35th Street. Approval of a preliminary plat to create 113 lots for townhome development, 1 outlot for common area and private streets, and approval of a site plan to allow construction of 113 attached townhomes, Grand Valley Townhomes LLC. This is a resolution to approve the preliminary plat, site plan, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Caffeine's wearing off.
5 yes.
7C, Point Townhome, southwest corner of Bridgewood Boulevard and South 88th Street. Approval of a preliminary plat to create 66 lots for attached townhome development, 1 public street lot and 1 outlot for common area detention and private streets. Hale Development Company LLC. It's a resolution to approve the preliminary plat, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
These are really nice townhomes. I mean, these, when you look through, yeah, they're triple townhomes, but they're upwards of 3,400 square feet. These are very, very big townhomes, and it's going to be an efficient development, but also a really nice one. So definitely supportive of this.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
7D, Jordan Ridge plat of survey, southwest corner of South Jordan Creek Parkway and Stagecoach Drive. Approval of a plat of survey to create 2 parcels for transfer of ownership. Robert F. Etzel Living Trust. It's a resolution to approve and release the plat of survey, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
All right, 7E, issuance of $20,395,000 of general obligation urban renewal bonds, Series 2021B, city initiated. We have a motion to receive and file the report of bids, a resolution authorize and approve of a loan agreement providing for the sale and issuance of the bonds and providing for the levy of taxes to pay said bonds. And I know Tim's up here and would introduce Suzanne, that doesn't need introduction. She's very familiar to us, so welcome.
Yep, Tim Stiles, Finance Director. Just wanted to make clear that Suzanne's going to provide a report on the successful bond sales that we had. We sold 2 issuances this morning. And so the comments that she makes in large part will apply to both of the next 2 items, E and F. So Mayor, if you want, as normal, handle those separate votes, but
Sure.
she's going to comment
Okay.
one time, hopefully.
Great.
And I'll turn it over to Suzanne.
Welcome. We always get good news from you, Suzanne, so you're welcome.
Yes, and I am bringing good news again tonight. So first order of business for the good news is that Standard & Poor's rating agency has affirmed the city's AAA rating. The city of West Des Moines is rated AAA by both Standard & Poor's and Moody's Investor Service. So with this 2 bond issues, we only sought a rating from S&P for these 2 issues. So congratulations on that. S&P cited AAA is supported by very strong economy, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity, strong management, and adequate budgetary performance, and then budget, debt, and pensions. So continue, the city staff and all of the elected officials before you continue to do a very good job to actively manage the AAA credit of the city of West Des Moines. That means you pay lower interest rates, and that means less tax dollars needed to pay for debt service. And I will say that we had a very lively discussion about a couple different things that are new this year in the rating. One was the general fund reserve policy, the general fund setting a minimum of 30%. S&P called that out twice in the report. They liked that the city is making a policy around the financial reserves that you're committed to maintain in the general fund to support the AAA rating. That was called out twice. And then we had a discussion around the Recplex and how the city has approached that project. There was a concern that there may be enterprise fund risk, but once it was found out that the city had a plan to not pay for the debt associated with that project with revenues from that project, but had a good solid fiscal plan and conservative budgeting for that project, we mitigated all of that risk and the AAA was affirmed. So a lot of good work there.
Did they know
And with
was
that,
Tom's
to the
project?
bonds.
Yeah. Did they know that was your project, Tom?
Is it not called the Tom Haddon
Yeah,
Recplex?
the project manager is listed as Tom Haddon, city manager. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Tom wants me to quit bringing that up, so
Well, I brought it up for you tonight.
No, that's all right.
And so we will start with the 2021B. This is the 20,395,000 GO urban renewal bonds, Series 2021B. This is in support of infrastructure for the Ginger West development agreement. There's a minimum assessment as part of that development agreement that will be providing the increment necessary to pay for the debt service on the bonds. Today, the city received 4 bids from 46 different firms with a true interest cost that we call it the TIC, right? That's that aggregated interest rate for the life of the bonds. The TIC range of 1.61% to 1.72%. And again, we're talking about 20-year bonds that are less than 2%. So thrilled to see the range. The winning bid today for the B series was from FHN Capital Markets out of New York, New York. They had 8 members in their syndicate, in their selling group. And the second place bidder, who I'm sure was very disappointed today, was Robert W. Baird. They had 34 members in their selling group for this series of bonds, and they were just 1 basis point or 0.01% higher than the winning bid today. So we always like to see how close we can get number 1 and number 2, and today they were just 1 basis point apart. So with the last place bid coming in at 172. So we did not resize these bonds, and this is what 1.61% is what we're paying in aggregate for the life of those bonds. So very pleased with that. We also did a Series C. This was $3,190,000, and this is infrastructure for the Galloway Development Agreement. And again, minimum assessment in place that will guarantee the increment generated to provide the TIF increment to pay for these bonds. Also had the AAA rating. These were a little bit smaller, so we did only receive 1 bid today, which is very unusual. But it was a good bid. And so that's the good news. It was a good bid. And in this case, Robert W. Baird, who came in just second place for the other series, won this series today and had 28 members in their selling group. So still a lot of opportunity for people to participate in this bond sale. And the TIC for these bonds is 1.69%. It's a little bit higher because they are smaller, which means it's a different customer group for them to sell to. So they took a little bit more in underwriter's discount to do a little bit more retail work.
And remind us the years, aren't these a lot shorter term as well?
No, these are 19 years.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Galloway goes out through 39 and the Ginger West goes out through 40. So they're both 19 or 20-year bonds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions for Suzanne?
Thank you,
Okay,
Suzanne.
Thank you,
Yes, thank you very
Suzanne.
much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Very happy, thank you.
Okay, so,
Oh, Matt, did you want to say something? Matt?
No, thank you. That's
Oh, okay.
All very good information.
yep. So somebody want to move 7E 1 and 2?
So moved.
Second,
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
7F is the issuance of the $3,190,000. You can take the rest of the night off, Suzanne.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
The $3,190,000 general obligation urban renewal bond series 2021C. We got a motion and a resolution which we can take together.
So moved.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Mayor, you've been doing this a while. What interest rates have you seen over the last 20 years that match this?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, since the financial crisis and we got a AAA rating, we've been getting like leading the market, they say, getting lower interest rates than they've seen anywhere. So, but you get back to, and we don't know the exact amount, there's over 19,000 cities in the United States and there's only about 100 with a AAA rating. So I think there is a demand for these AAA rated bonds and there's just not a lot of them out in the marketplace.
Sure.
So that's another reason, but I think it's fair to say, Tim, you just don't see this in the marketplace hardly at all. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's great.
Great news, thank you.
Yeah, and we're fortunate that we have the financial wherewithal and the demand for these to continue to develop.
I don't believe I heard the vote from Russ. Russ, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm here. I voted aye.
Okay.
Okay.
And 5 yes.
7G, Amendment to City Code Title 6 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 9 Traffic Schedules, Section 5 No Parking Zones, 5th Street, Walnut Street to 45th Street, are 45 feet south of Walnut Street, east side and west side, city initiated. This is an ordinance for the first reading. It came through the Public Services City Council Committee with a recommendation.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Questions or comments? Okay, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the City Code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic code relating to official traffic controls.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
5 yes.
Item 8, we have one item. We will receive, file, and/or refer the Human Services Financial and Operational Assessment. And item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council member wants to raise tonight?
I did have a question.
Mayor, just,
Okay, hang on, Matt, sorry, 8A, Renee, sorry.
I just want to say to Althea, first of all, this report on the Human Services Financial Operation, it was fantastic in terms of just understanding it. I just really love the way it was laid out and how they did it. There were some high priority things, and it says timeframe. So are those the things that you guys are working on? The one that kind of stuck out at me was revenue and expenses from the Sunday Supper, which is a phenomenal event. Is mingled with the Friends Foundation in the city. So I wanted to truly make sure that these recommendations, you're one that I know always pays attention to the details. So are we working on these recommendations that are in the red that they say are high that seems to have a little commingling?
Althea Holcomb, Director of Human Services. Yes, actually, we developed this foundation, one of my board members and I, about 6 years ago. And neither one of us had ever developed a foundation, but we worked really hard on putting it together, and it's working pretty well, except for, of course, there's no separation of duties. So I know a whole lot about both the department and the foundation, and I need to get out of the foundation. So in fact, we are working on that. And I'm working with Katie Corbin, who's the president.
All right, good. And I know if there are recommendations, Althea, you're one that will, really tackle it and put it on. So I just like that it was laid out, and the high priorities one, I know you'll give some high consideration because
Sure.
we do have to have separation of
Yeah.
duty from the foundation.
I didn't lay this out, though. BKD did, so.
Yeah.
Well, you might, and I'm sure this will go through your board, and I can't remember, I think, Russ, are you the liaison?
Yes, he is.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and Russ is also on finance administration, so it'd be really helpful, I think, for all of us, once you have tackled all these, to just give us an update.
Yeah.
I'll be
at the
happy to
appropriate
do
time.
that. Our hope is to have it all of the transformation done in the next year.
Yep.
So we'll have it done,
Great.
and it'll be good.
Okay, maybe come back in 6
Thank
months.
you.
Let us know how this going.
Sure.
Matt, did you have a question?
Thank you, Althea.
yeah, I did. Thank you. Not for you, Althea. No, thank you for the information, though. I could see you there on the screen. I apologize. Earlier, I was having audio difficulties. I wanted to make sure the record reflects that I abstained from the items on the consent agenda relative to the conduit project. So I apologize if you didn't hear me on that. And second, I do look forward, Renee, to joining you in a couple weeks with the big belt we got from the Battle of the Burbs last weekend. So thank you for the opportunity to lay that out.
Look like a WWF Wrestler Award.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big bill.
It is.
All right, any other council member have any other matter? Otherwise, we don't have a workshop and we don't have an executive session. So everyone can go home.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.